Alright, welcome. We Unfiltered Few. I'm here with my boy Storm. Boom. It's me spacing. You got Riz. And then our special guest, Flea. Today we're going to get into a heavy topic. A lot of people may not like it. Unfortunately, all of us have something to do with it. And I would like to get into sharing those kinds of things with you guys, you know. So today we're gonna be talking about addiction, and I guess Storm, I'm gonna ask you first off, like, if there was something that you struggled with, or something that someone else you know struggled with, and that relates to addiction, how did it affect you, and like, what is addiction first off to you?
I mean, a storm here. So for me, like addiction is, there's many different. Everybody has their own definition of it. Addiction to me is something that no matter what you do, you will always go to that one thing, no matter what, to get your mind off anything. Like, you know, I'm not gonna say like video games or social media, that kind of stuff. It's just basically something you're very addicted to. You can't get out of unless you get a lot of help for it. And you don't see it as a problem at first. It doesn't. You don't see it as a problem until it hits you in the face deeply. You know, like legal troubles, relationship troubles, friend trouble, like anything and everything about money struggles. You know, you're doing it so much, like you're spending so much money on nothing, and it's just not to say nothing because obviously it's something to you, but to everybody else's eyes, it could just be nothing.
Yeah.
You know. So for me, I obviously have a couple personal ones myself. Long time ago when I was in high school, stuff like that, I was also known as Mad Tim all the time. You know, I raged, I did all this, like, you know, I was angry. I was angry at the world, angry at you. You could look at me like you are right now, you beautiful mug you, and I would be mad. Why? I don't know. So to cope with that, then my relationship issues, I ended up starting, and it was kind of around high school, yeah. I just started going and just stealing stuff. It was, for me, it was just something it was easy. No one paid attention to me. I'm just a small, scrawny kid at the time. Had nice hair. I wore like an expensive outfit. So like, oh, this guy has money and I don't have to worry about it.
What about stealing was it that like kept you coming back? Was it the adrenaline you get after? Was it the satisfaction? Like,
100% was the adrenaline.
Yeah.
There was no one that I could just do this and get away with it and F you corporate world.
Right.
So
and then having that potentiality of being caught.
Yeah, and there's plenty of times where I thought I was going to be juvie, maybe pulled arrested for what I was doing, but for me I did it smartly, and at least I would like to think smartly. Obviously, don't steal, people. I'm just saying, don't do that. It's bad. You go to jail for that.
I'll remind you.
Yeah,
this is a beautiful, nice human being.
I'm a professional. Don't do this. No, I'm kidding. I'm paid some for no. But it was something going through my time, and I was just angry at the world. So I just felt like doing this gave me satisfaction and adrenaline to like, okay, this is payback for where the world pisses me off, for everything that was nothing, but it was something. It's really hard to explain. My problems were not my problem, my problems, and it wasn't anything. There's a reason why I was this way, but to relate to that, it's kind of goes back to always to something like my brother's death.
Yeah.
But I did this. I got better. I stopped stealing. I stopped going to stores where I would steal from, and I would just avoid them at all costs for the next couple of years until that part of me just decided, okay, I'm done. I'm over it. I don't have to be mad at it anymore. I wish I could return to things, but they don't carry that stuff in stock anymore, so there's that. Be kind of weird that I showed up, here's 5 shirts that I put on in your dressing room, but, we don't talk about that. But, yeah.
When would you say that pivotal moment hit you where you were like, I need to change, I gotta stop doing this?
It probably would have been when I was at I was at like a convention with all my buddies, all my friends, and I went to take something, and I couldn't do it. It wasn't that I couldn't do it. It was I was trying my ass off to do it. And it came to the point where one of my friends bought the thing I was trying to steal, and I looked in my soul, because it wasn't that, I just felt bad as a person. I tried doing like this for my friend, and he bought it instead. And that's when I was like, I can't do that anymore. I can't be that person anymore. That's my story on my addiction thing. Obviously, there's other stuff, but that's the main one I can relate to. Growing up for someone from a low-income family, I lived by myself. This is what I did, and it was wrong.
Yeah, I understand that. And I appreciate you sharing all of that.
I appreciate you.
No, man, you're a great man, honestly. And so, real quick, the last thing I would like to ask you is, like, now, having gone through all that and being a changed person, do you think it's acceptable for somebody to have an addiction?
I mean, it depends. Like, obviously, it depends on. That's a loaded question, right?
Yeah.
I could say it depends on the addiction. I mean, no matter what, everyone's addicted to something. Even nowadays, like, I could be like myself personally. I want to get a game. I want to buy a game, but I stop myself from doing it. You know what I mean? Am I ever going to play it? No, I have still 40, 50 on game. I bought the game. I never unwrapped it. It's still sitting there.
So it's like a spectrum kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's all depending on the type of thing.
But yeah. That's on me. But yeah, thank you for the question, Spacing. But I'm good for right now.
What you were asking, like, the spectrum of addiction, and how is it acceptable in some instances or not. This is an important topic to me. I grew up a little bit poor. They didn't tell me, and then we figured it out pretty quick. Got parents on both sides of addiction, gambling, drinking, both on gambling and drinking. I've also grown up with these same kind of struggles. I drank too much, I eat too much, I consume media too much, and I generally have stopped doing a lot of these things as much as I can try. But that's because, there are consequences to doing these things. I still would love to get back into it. Like, I'm celebrating, almost 9 months now sober. And I honestly don't fucking care. I don't care that I'm sober. I would love to go back to it, but, addict brain says, you're going to love all these things, you're going to keep loving them. Oh, you can stay healthy in all these certain ways, and you're going to be a better person. You're not going to be a better person. You're going to live longer miserably. I think some people have real problems with addiction. I've seen it. I might be a person myself who deals with it. I don't really care, but I get some people just use the excuse of addiction, and they blanket term how it's affected people in much harsher ways. I would segue to the whole, like, how people use anxiety as a thing too, but that's a different topic. But addiction into the same realm of, I'm addicted to this, I'm addicted to that. Yes, Storm, people are quote unquote addicted to things in little ways, but into the way that it is actually bad, people don't really see that. They don't really understand that. And most of the time, I don't think they've lived with it. For reals, lived with it. Like myself and some others have.
Outside judging.
Yeah.
Yeah. I completely understand that sentiment. It does get pretty annoying when you have somebody who's never actually witnessed a true addiction. They've only just seen, like, people strung out on the street.
Social media, movies, showing addiction.
And so they just got this weird, like, idea of what addiction should be. And so they're just like, nah, that's not okay, that's not acceptable. But they don't try to justify the things, the struggles that people had to go through to end up at that point. Because not everybody just fucking wakes up one day and decides, I want to be at rock bottom.
I mean, it goes back to a thing I saw on social media just like not even a week ago. It's not an addiction until you suck dick for it. Like, I mean, I'm not going to say that's correct, but I mean, that's a real thing. Yeah.
I'm not sure what level of sexuality I am, but I would suck dick for a beer.
I mean, there's this movie out there where this guy goes to AA meetings. He's like, yeah. He's addicted to weed, and he's like, man, you can't be addicted to weed. And he's like, how do you know that? He's like, you ever suck dick for weed? Yeah.
That's true.
I've sucked dick for crack, but I ain't never sucked dick for weed.
Pull out of my yard.
It was in Half Baked.
Half Baked, yeah.
Ah.
Great movie.
Great movie.
Dave Chappelle.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Bob Saget.
Have you guys ever sucked for some dopamine rush?
Definitely sold my Pokemon cards for weed.
Oh.
And sold many of my
here it goes.
just childhood possessions for weed. And addiction for me definitely has a heavy meaning, because I've been going to NA, which is Narcotic Anonymous meetings, since I was 2 years old with my parents. And they met in halfway houses, which is where you go to the bad place with drugs.
Yeah.
And you're trying to recover. And so they met there, had a few good years, eventually started drinking together, and basically we're right back into that same addict behavior, but with alcohol instead of hard drugs. Which, yeah, good for them for kicking the hard drugs, but it was the 90s. Everyone was on hard drugs.
Yeah.
Get over your shit, smoke some weed, drink some beers, and figure out your shit. But ironically enough, that ended up losing them both in the same year to alcohol-related issues. And now I work in a liquor store. So I'm learning how to treat alcohol with respect that they never could. And I'm learning from their mistakes. And I've already had my history with alcohol. I like to joke around that I quit alcohol before I even turned 21 because of the way I used to drink in high school and right after high school. But not using any alcohol in my 20s for the majority of it, and respecting alcohol in the sense that just not drinking to get drunk like I used to, made me respect alcohol to the sense that I don't like being drunk, and I'm not going to abuse something that I don't enjoy doing when I have weed that I enjoy doing.
Now, if you don't mind me asking, what was it that made you realize that you wanted to start treating alcohol with respect?
Watching my parents just be, for lack of a better way, just shitty humans.
Yeah.
When they're just drinking a 10-pack of Fireball shots per night.
Ooh.
Each.
Ooh.
Fireball. Ugh.
And it's not even, that's like the minimum. They might drink even more than that. But
Hey, definitely no shout out to Fireball. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Fireball's
That's crazy.
Fireball's like when you're 16 or 7.
And they were 50 and 50 too.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't even what they were drinking at the end of the day. It was what they were doing while they were drinking. One person would watch Fox News and complain about how wrong they were, and you found out how someone could be wrong on both sides of the spectrum. And then you got someone who just sat there passively complaining about their life but not doing anything about it because they didn't have the physical capability of doing so at that point because of all of the things that they did to their body.
Yeah.
And so watching those two people that I cared about so much deteriorate away solely because of this solution, ironically said enough, where it's alcohol can be medicine, but it could also be a hindrance as well. And losing them to that, I learned that I can treat this with more respect than they did out of sheer spite, in a way, too. So I can't just get rid of it. It doesn't not exist because I don't like it.
Yeah.
But I can learn to live with it in a healthier way. Basically the opposite of what they did.
That's.
In a lot of ways, it's really what it is just not doing what they did. They taught me. And I like to joke around saying I'm a good example of a bad example in a lot of aspects of my life, but in that way, they were a good example of a bad example of how not to drink.
Yeah.
But then outside of alcohol, I definitely recognize that I have a habitual addiction to weed and a dependency on cigarettes for a form of escapism.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm actually chemically addicted to either of those. Where if I was going through a situation I have before where I wasn't able to consume either of those two products, I'm fine. Doesn't bother me at all, really. Like, having that moment where I can go have a cigarette feels great when I do get it, but I don't think about it when I can't get it.
Right.
And I'm working on myself right now, going through more moments where I'm just like, all right, I want this, but I'm not going to allow myself to have it. I need to have that self-discipline, self-control of saying, just because I want it doesn't mean I can have it.
Yeah.
And at work, I know I smoke way too fucking much, and I rationalize that by, I don't take my full 10-minute breaks, I just space those out throughout the day.
Yeah, I get you on that, because, like, for instance, I tell myself, like, the best way to keep yourself from getting into that addictive mentality again is to honestly realize when it's a want or when it's a need. The moment you start feeling like you need it, you need to lay the fuck off.
And I don't even know if I've ever felt that need, because I've always said to myself, like, all right, I can go without it if I really wanted to.
No, I get you.
So it comes down to, like, am I or am I not chemically addicted to these things? Because psychologically, you can break anything. You can just tell yourself you don't want it. You can just, because if you don't want it, and you know you don't want it, and you're beating yourself up every time you do the thing that you don't want anyway. And there's plenty of ways, financially speaking, that people spend all of their money in a brief moment, and then 5 minutes later, it's like, oh, that dopamine high already wore off. And I deeply regret the money I just spent because that was something I can't get back.
Yeah.
And that's another form of addiction, is financial burdens. And there's just so many different forms of addiction right now. I think the most people in the world right now are actually just addicted to dopamine. Dopamine, just getting high off of that instant gratification of whether it's scrolling through the next TikTok or having that quick bong rip or having that line or cigarette or beer or whatever you can instantly reach for and know that, like, that's going to make you feel okay for 5 minutes. That's a dopamine high. Maybe there's another actual chemical for it, and I'm just using a layman's term, and it's not actually dopamine, the chemical that is giving you that, but serotonin might be it, but it's that instant gratification. I think that's what we're mostly addicted to these days. Or at least, and I speak from Boone's perspective of me knowing him for a short amount of time, having control over those addictions. And knowing that you don't need those, and saying, no, I'm going to do the steps that I need to not give myself the opportunity to. I feel like there's so many different forms of addiction. I feel like you might even be able to be addicted to having control over your addictions.
Yeah.
Do you have an opinion about that?
Well, real quick, sorry, segment to that. I love what you just said. Not putting yourself in the situations in the first place. I saw this dumb video, but it said something really cool. Dude asked a woman, would you ever cheat on me? And she said, yes, absolutely. That is why I don't ever put myself in those situations in the first place. Everybody has the ability to cheat. And now back to the conversation.
That's really
Everybody has the ability to get addicted. Everybody in this mother has the ability to engorge themselves too much on whatever the addiction is. There's many different types. But you have that ability no matter what. What you have to do is work on making sure you're not even part of those situations in the first place. But there is no shame. We're not shaming anybody about their addictions. I am a little bit, but we're not shaming anybody.
We love Boone anyway for it.
About addictions. It is a hard thing to overcome for some. For others, it's not. For the people who it wasn't hard to get over, you didn't have an addiction in the first place, you piece of crud.
And that's the reason why people get sent to AA or NA, is because they did have an addiction.
Yes.
Or the Black House, or,
They physically could not stop it themselves, and they needed the assistance.
Yeah, and they get put in jail for doing the things they do. That's a lot.
To anyone out there listening to this right now, going through that, it takes so much effort to admit that you need help, and then to follow through and get that help. I applaud you so hard for going through those steps and actually getting the help that you need, because it's not easy. No one should have to go through this alone. And to the people that did go through it alone, good for you. Like, it takes a strong person to do so, but you're not a weak person just because you can't do it alone. No one should have to. It's just a very convenient thing that some people do get to do.
And hopefully, you know, if you are going through something and you need something, hopefully you got a good support system. I'm lucky enough that if I ever got somewhere, I have all my friends here.
Ah,
Yeah.
Except for you.
oh, my bad.
I'm gonna be honest with you. To come back to something that Boone had said, he was like, honestly, you need to recognize and be able to avoid certain situations. And part of me wanted to be like, yeah, you're completely right, but at the same time, you're also wrong. Because in certain situations, people are born into a certain kind of situation where they can't get away from that kind of thing. So they have to witness something completely that they don't want to be a part of, but they can't escape it. You know? Like they may be able to go to another room or maybe go to school, but in the back of their mind, they're always constantly thinking about what's going on back at home.
No, you're right. There is, yes, as I had stated earlier, I was genetically, I was born to get screwed by this. And I have seen and been in many situations. I first started drinking because I was peer pressured into it so many times. At that point, I was just always the cool guy, the party guy. And I kept that going for a long time. But again, it's a choice. Everything you do is a choice. And addiction, I'm sorry, it can be overcome. It really can. And you get no sympathy from me if you're not putting in the work.
No, I get you.
Put in the work. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Thanks, Woody.
Splitty?
You got any situations that you've ever been in where you had to deal with some sort of form of addiction, or yourself be addicted to anything?
Now, see, that's an interesting question for me because I feel like I can't quite quantify in my past whether or not I've actually had an addiction. I know I've had phases. I know I've gone through phases where I'm like, I want this thing, I'm going to go do things to get to this thing because it comes with these situations. Now, does me chasing these situations, these crowds, these people, does that quantify what I was doing in that time period as addiction? Or was it a phase, me chasing something that I wanted out of that, whatever I was going for?
What are some of the steps you took to get there?
Yeah, it all kind of depends. Like you said, like if it was something as simple as like I need to go to a concert, you know,
I need to drink this next beer, you know, I'm ready to make 6.
Now, what were the steps you took to get to that concert? Did you just like excessively work and like try to earn as much money as you can, or did you sit there and start doing skeevy stuff where it's like, hey, I need to start taking from people, or I need to sell something?
No, nothing like that.
You know, like,
all I'm gonna say is, honestly, there are some bits in my life where I look at it and I go, damn, I took a shot at least once a day for like 3 months, then went dry for a year, and now I'm at where I'm at. Did I have a period of addiction? Like, it may have been casual for me, but it's not very casual for the effects of on your body.
I think that's the point I was getting to that you brought at least to a positive light, is that phases. Phases is a good way to put that I'm all like, you know what, dog? That works. Or people who are goal-oriented, addiction, or having the mentality to be in a person who could be an addict, they are really good usually at getting things done because they're goal-oriented and they want to chase that high. And if it's for a good reason, or at least you're aware you're going through the phases where you do all these things for a positive outcome, even if it's multiple times, then it's okay. Addiction, it can serve a lot of bad points, but for you at least, it doesn't seem like it's there at all, which is nice. And also admitting that you go through these phases of wanting to chase something, which is, again, also nice, because you're not saying it's addiction, and people who say that kind of stuff, I'm going to kill them. I'm not going to kill anybody. I can't, because, that's murder. Murder is wrong, apparently.
Hey.
Sorry.
Hey, Drax asked a question and he got told it was wrong, so just believe that.
Yeah,
Oh,
apparently
sorry.
murder is wrong. I don't know.
That's a fact.
Science fact.
USA law, yes, rape is wrong.
But in that same vein, going through these phases, I did see people in active addiction. I don't have much knowledge on what counts as addiction and all that, but I can also look at some people and be like, oh my god, I wish I could help you a little. I don't know how, but I wish I could. Because that doesn't seem fun or good. It doesn't seem like I don't want to say a positive low point in your life. I feel like that's a possible thing where you're just like either down on money, down on friends, family, and all that, going through a, so to speak, party animal phrase, frat bros and all that. They know that.
You consider, like, if this is the worst part of your life, is this still a blessing kind of situation?
Yeah.
It can also just be as easy as if you see someone going through that, bring it to their attention or bring it up. Because honestly, it's just if they don't know that maybe whatever you're doing is affecting you, or at least you know down the line it could affect them, I don't think it hurts bringing it up, as long as you're coming at it as a place of love and not a place of, you need to stop doing it, you know, something like that.
When you force somebody, when you force someone's hand on just cutting off something cold turkey, it can completely destroy that person.
I can see that, and the examples my friends and I, is sitting in this room with me right now. We have helped a lot of different people through some things. I'm not sure if we've helped people with addiction, but I think we have.
Yeah.
And we come at it with a kind heart, sure, but inside me, inside whatever exterior that I show and what I try to give people, especially people of addiction and what I have gone through, they get no sympathy from me. I don't care. Buck up and be better. Make the choice to be better every day. Yeah, no sympathy from me in that regard, but I'll help you, sure, and I'll do everything to say the kind words and whatever mask I put on. But you're right, you can't just cut off cold turkey, you can't just get mad at them. I agree.
I'm not saying you can't. It's just you can't go at somebody with hostility towards quitting.
Yeah.
Because then it just feels like they're being attacked, and the choices that they made, they already know are bad, but now they're world crushing.
And now they're just gonna want to do it more.
Yeah, because they're gonna now they're even more stressed out, and the way to relieve that stress is to do that action of whatever it is that gratifies your needs, you know. So like,
I get you. It's just a juggling it. Yeah, I mean, I think all of us, like I said, at least, I mean, most people in this room have experienced at least a little something. Hopefully, you out there, if you do, are going through something, or you have gone through something, comment below, on the channel. We'll talk to you. We'll figure something out. And if you ever need an open ear, you can always message us, and we'll talk to you about it. Yeah. I think it's as simple as sometimes my philosophy in life is sometimes the best therapist is a stranger. Why? Because you're never going to meet them, or at least you meet them once, you probably are never going to see them again. And that's how sometimes I've gotten through a lot of stuff in my life, is sat down at a bus stop, or went, somebody, random customer coming through my work, and looks like they're on going through something, so I sit down and talk, and I never see that person again. Or something, something like that is simple and easy.
And real quick to come back to something that you guys had said earlier, that Boone had said earlier in specific, is that he doesn't know if they've ever really truly helped anybody with addiction. But I would like to say that y'all continue to help me every day with something that I still battle. Because, I myself was addicted to drugs, real hard. I started doing meth when I was 17 because it was something that was just predominant in my family. Once I couldn't get my Adderall anymore, I started turning towards meth because my mom was doing meth.
I think before we met you, we had heard those stories, about you being a crappy person.
I wasn't No, that's the thing that people get misconstrued. It's like, I wasn't a bad person. I still went to work every day. I was working 7 days a week, 10-hour shifts. I was helping my mom pay her rent. The only thing is I was strung out on meth. Like, that's it.
And the addiction defined you.
I would get into arguments over trying to quit.
Yeah.
Like, because I would want to quit at some points, but she would still be smoking. And I'd wake up, smell the smoke, and be like, you know what, fuck it, let me go in there, because it's not going to stop.
Okay.
And also with working the long hours and everything, it gave me that extra edge to keep going. Because I'm not going to lie with you. I worked, the longest I ever worked 7 days a week at that job it was a total of 63 days in a row before I had to go to the hospital because I threw out my back.
Body needs rest.
Yeah, but like the thing is growing up watching my mom go through everything that she went through, and then it taking its toll on me. I finally had just gotten to a point where I started getting sick of myself. Like, I didn't like all this shit that I was going through. I started getting into huge fights with my mom, telling her that she's a piece of crap. Like, not showing her the same sympathy. You know, like, she's going through the same battle I'm going through, trying to get off the shit. And
sorry, I can't just make me laugh, man.
yeah,
I
get you. But yeah, just watching her go through that kind of struggle, and then for it to affect me the way that it affected me, I realized I needed to make a change. And like you guys have said, you really can't force somebody to quit, but I was put under that circumstance. I literally had my sister come into my mom's place and was just like, once she had found out I was on drugs, she straight up was like, you're either going to be homeless or you can go live with your brother or stay with me. It don't matter. You got to get off this shit. Like, yeah. At that moment, I was like, you know what? Everybody's right. I do need to get off this shit. And I'm glad that I'm now like almost 4 years sober off of that.
Yes, sir. Let's go. Come on.
And so, like, I give people sympathy, but at the same time, like you had said, I really don't at the same time because it's all a matter of choice.
Yes, sir.
Like, even when you're down at rock bottom, all it takes is a real good swift kick in the butt from yourself to sit there and be like, I want to do better. I want to stay clean. Like, because, like you said, I would love to fucking go back, bro. Like,
every day I think about it.
I'd love to be able to stay up for 24 hours. I happen to need a nap. You know, my old body would like to not hurt and be able to lift up buckets with no pain, you know, but not saying this is a good drug to do.
Drugs.
No, by all means.
But I would go back so hard.
I mean, honestly, the first step of addiction or first step of anything is realizing you got a problem. Goes back to whatever you take in school. Anybody else want anything they want to talk about, bring up, or?
Anyone who's currently going through addiction, we're here for you, and if there's no one else there for you, please comment down below, and we'll try to reach out and talk to you if we can.
That's times 2, y'all. times 2.
I give you a high five and a smack on the cheeks. I love you.
Is that you talking from the bike? Alright, what do you got, Switty? They're about to, yeah. It's okay.
And this is Switty.
It's okay. I can cut off. I'll cut off. I'll edit this part out. So.
And as far as I know, I learn every day, and I hope that I can hold the empathy and sympathy that y'all deserve for you. Try my best to weed out as well.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thanks for tuning in to the Unfiltered Few. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah.